Welcome to the table, the podcast where we share real stories, struggles, and victories as we walk together in faith. I'm so excited to share this conversation with you. Our guest, Tiffany Mobley, is joining us today as we talk about encouragement. It seemed fitting, after what we've learned in Colossians, to chat about how we've been encouraged and what it looks like to encourage those around us. That's the whole point of this community thing, really. Helping each other push forward, continue on the path, and move forward with what God has in store for us. I hope this week challenges you to look for opportunities, big or small, to encourage those around you. After all, He gave you community for this very purpose.
Welcome back to the table. I am so excited today. We have another guest with us. And Tiffany, we have never met in person. I'm sure that our paths have crossed at some point, but I'm getting to meet you for the first time today. Jenna, you and Tiffany have been friends for a really long time. It's only fair for me to let you introduce our guest today.
I met Tiffany when she was very little. Her dad was actually my pastor growing up, so I know her well. And then our past, because I was older than her, we weren't in the same age group, and so we weren't always in class together. I kind of just watched her grow up, and she probably watched me grow up, and that may be a bad thing. But our paths crossed again as we've gotten older, and her husband is a pastor like mine is. And there have just been many times that we have had to reach out to each other, not just because our husbands are pastors, but because we both homeschool our kids. We're both teachers by trade. We just have a lot in common. And because of that, she is one that I'm quick to reach out to. I'm also, I hope that I've been an encouragement to her, but here recently, she has been quite the encouragement to us. And so that's why I wanted to have her on here, because we're just finishing up the first few sections of Colossians talking all about encouragement and how Paul encouraged the believers at Colossae. And so I thought Tiffany would be a great guest for us today. We're going to let her introduce herself. If I didn't do a good enough job of it, I'm going to let her say anything else that she needs to share with us. Tiffany?
I feel like you pretty much got it. I'm from Tennessee, although I lack the accent. I am currently in Indiana, where my husband's pastored for about 13 years at a church here. I'm a homeschool mama of three kids and spend my time working for the church, carting kids off to sports, and just that's about it about me, really.
I think that's great. Welcome, Tiffany. We're so glad that you're here. Tiffany, so with all of our guests, we have these first three questions that we ask because we're really trying to build this sense of community. And these are things that people should be talking about with their community. And so I appreciate you being here, sharing your experiences, and just being honest about what's happening in your life and with whatever's going on with you. So here's our first question. The first one is about feasting. And so, how have you been feasting on the word and the spirit this week?
So, I'm a Bible recapper. I know you guys have mentioned that on your podcast. I'm a Bible recapper, going into the third year of it. But last year, I kind of decided that I wanted to kind of go a little deeper. And she talks about it some on her podcast, but the D group. So I tried that and it wasn't exactly for me, but I really liked the content. And so this year they've started a Knowing God series, and it's an Acts. And so I started doing that the first of the year. And so I'm doing a deep dive in Acts and the Holy Spirit and the early church. And it's just mind blowing. It's so amazing. I recommend it to anyone else.
Yeah, I need to hear more about that. So, do you do it through the Bible app? What do you do? What do you do it through?
Well, it's actually like, I know it's gonna be backwards, but she has like a
A
book you
book.
buy from
Okay.
her. Yeah, so it's like her name's on it. So I don't know if she wrote it. I know she has obviously lots of people that help her with that, but it's a book. And so the actual D group meets together, kind of virtual thing, but I didn't really like the virtual aspect of it. So I just do the content, not the actual D group anymore.
Okay, we'll link that in the show notes for everybody, aka me, to be able to check out and go see what that's about. I love Tara Lee Coble. and the Bible
Yes, she's
recaps.
awesome.
So that's a great resource to share. Okay, second question is about fellowship. So you just talked about like how you fed your spirit, but how do you share that with other people? Where do you find fellowship in your everyday life?
So my church offers, we have small groups, and I just love so much. It's a women's small group, and we meet every other week. And it's just a time where we come together, and we're not doing that book. We have another book, but we come together and we bring food, and sometimes it's just like a mix match of food. Sometimes it doesn't even go together. And we just get into God's words and really carry each other's burdens, and they're my people, and that's where I'm currently finding my fellowship.
We didn't talk about this beforehand, so I'm sorry. If you want to not answer this question, that's okay. I am so intrigued by the idea of small groups. Will you just tell us a little bit about how you started it or how you guys structure that? I think for me, it's so hard because people are so busy. And so if you don't commit to that early on, it's really hard to start something like that. Like we've tried to get a group of us together over and over, and it always falls flat. Like tell me about how'd you get there? How'd you start it? What do you do?
So in the beginning, it's been about, I think, 2 years. It actually was just something that God just kind of was like, through different instances that happened, was like, let's try this. And I remember, I don't know what I was doing. I had the kids with me, and I drove to one of our deacons and deacons' wife's house and randomly showed up there. And I was like, hey, I was like, I know we do Bible study on Wednesday nights, like we've done all of our lives. I was like, but what if we did this small group? And I knew this deacon, I knew he was for small groups because he'd actually taught a Sunday school lesson about how the early church was a small group of people, and they met in each other's homes, and they ate together and they prayed together, and they were just really close with each other, and how much the Spirit just blessed them. And so I was like, let's do it. And so I talked to my husband, obviously. And at first we had did like we're a small church, maybe like 60 to 70 people. So at first we just kind of like, did some surveys. And we're like, would you be interested? Then we kind of broke up into several different groups. And I think that first semester we may have had 4 different groups. But we've kind of each year we kind of like what works, what doesn't work. And we've kind of now just split men and women. Like, if you want to join us here, and we've had some people like one semester we did a marriage, and we had more people in that one than other ones, and kind of like what topics would you like to dive into? And we do it every other week so that like, if it's on the same day of the week, me and my husband can't, we have to find a babysitter or something. So we kind of do them like every other week. That way parents don't have to get a babysitter. We just kind of like looked at who was willing and just said like, what do you want to do and how can we do this? And so that's kind of, and it's really amazing. And we sometimes we meet in people's homes, sometimes we meet at church. It just kind of however comes together.
I love that. I'm gonna have to hear more about that
Sorry, that
offline.
was kind of a long
No,
answer.
no, no, no. You could have gone on and
It's
on.
good.
Yeah, it was really good. Um, Okay, third question. Our third question is about forgiveness. And where are you finding forgiveness in Jesus for yourself or for other people around you? And I think what I want to highlight about this is we really only find our forgiveness in Jesus. Like he's really the only one that can offer that to us. I know we've had a lot of conversations about this.
I've really had on my heart the phrase, I need to forgive myself. I've heard it said so many times, and I've said it myself. I need to get over this. I need to get past this. I need to forgive myself. But I'm learning quickly through the word that that's not something I can do. If I have the forgiveness of God, then I don't need any other forgiveness.
Yeah, we're gonna really spend some time on this. I see a future podcast episode in the works for sure. But Tiffany, with all of that, tell us where you're finding forgiveness for yourself or someone else.
So, kind of upon what Jenna had said, I think it's important, and I've really been trying to do this with myself of like every day, just looking and saying, like, where have I sinned today? Like, and not letting it build up to where I'm in just such a not good relationship with the Lord and just saying like, okay, like I was angry today and I sinned against my children and I need to get forgiveness and finding forgiveness with the Lord. And then once I've repented to the Lord, go find forgiveness with my children. Like, I'm sorry. Like I sinned against you today. Same with my husband. It was funny because he was like, well, you found forgiveness with me. You can say that, but it is true. But like Jenna said, like, I'm sorry, Lord. Like I've sinned against my husband today and then finding forgiveness with him. And so I think it's honing in on, I think where I've been finding forgiveness is with the Lord, but honing in on those sins daily that by the end of the day, or it'd probably be good if I do it right away, but obviously I don't always do it right away because I got to get convicted first about it. But then by the end of the day, I'm like, Lord, I've really just messed up today and I need your forgiveness.
I love that. And I love that you said that you take it to the Lord first. When we've been talking about prayer and someone said like if you need to have a hard conversation or if there's something that you need to talk about, like you should talk to the Lord about it first because then he will, guide your conversation or whatever. And I love that in forgiveness too. It's like if I've already asked the Lord for forgiveness, in my mind, like that's the hardest part, right? He's the one I really care about. I care that he forgives me. And if I've cleared that up with him, like it should be easier for me then to go to that person and say, I'm really sorry I messed up. Will you forgive me? And so I just like that you point that out, that you like take it to the Lord
Mhm.
first. Yeah. Okay. So Tiffany, you are here today. Jenna's already said we've really been in the midst of Colossians. I'm still sticking to the fact that we're not taking a deep dive. We're still holding to that statement, but we are taking a deeper dive than I anticipated. And so a lot of what Paul has done we're almost halfway through Colossians, maybe not quite, but close. Um, what he has done is encourage this church and these believers in this church. Um, and he's taken a lot of time to do that, and he's done it in lots of different ways. And so we wanted to talk to you about encouragement. And like our listeners don't know this, and I didn't ask you if I could share this, so I guess we'll cut it out if you don't want to. But Tiffany, you have been such an encouragement to Jenna and I in this podcast. And I don't know, like we don't really talk about this on the podcast, but Jenna knows, like it's probably weekly. It's I feel like it's spacing out a little bit. It's weekly that I go to her and say, I am discouraged. Like this isn't going right. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why we're having all these issues. And you have just been such an encouragement to us in the way that you've loved on us through this whole project. And so, who better to bring here today than you to talk about encouragement and what that looks like in your life, what the Bible says about encouragement. I just you were a really great example of encouraging someone in something that's hard and that's difficult and kind of spurring them on to good deeds. So here we are. I'm going to start this by asking you, like, how have you been encouraged when you think back over whatever period of time you want? What are some moments that stick out to you? Like those were for sure moments of encouragement.
This question, I was thinking about it. I have been really blessed with encouragers in my life, and I think God put them there. And that maybe has led me to love to encourage because I've been so encouraged throughout my life. I was trying to think of big ones, like milestones in my life, but sometimes the most important or the biggest encouragements have been something so small in my life. I don't ever want us to lose the sight of how encouraging praying for someone can be. I have several friends. I know you guys have mentioned Marco Polo on here, and we Marco Polo, and I say, like, I'm having a bad day, and I'll have a friend pull over in a parking spot, and she'll come on there, and she's like, "Can I pray for you right now?" And like, not only the encouragement of like, man, that person loves me so much to pray for me right now, but then having that person just pray over me and to feel the prayers. Like, God is such an encourager. He sent his son to be the biggest encourager. And when we pray for that for someone else, for Jesus to encourage them, um, it's just it was, I know it sounds silly to say, but it just instantly makes you feel like I'm gonna be
Mhm.
okay. Like I feel the prayers of someone I love. Um, some maybe milestones that I was thinking of is we had a family come to our church for a while, and they were just were passing by. It was just a man and a woman. I had babies, and every Sunday I'm the piano player, and every Sunday she'd say, "Do you want me to hold your baby while you play?" And I was like, sure. And she held my baby, and then she wrote us letters. She didn't even know us, but she wrote up me and my husband letters of encouragement. And it was just one of those things where she like meant so much to us. Well, then they were gone. Like they didn't even like they were just passing by, their house was for sale, whatever. They were gone, like within months. And I never saw them again. And like 5 years later, I'm at a homecoming service, and there they were. And I run up to her because I was like, I'm not going to miss this opportunity to tell her how much she meant to me. And I was like, you have encouraged me so much in my life. Like, I've never forgot you. And she looks at me and she doesn't even remember who I am. And I'm
Oh,
like, but you did all this encouragement, and my point of sharing that is like she didn't even know what she was doing. She did not know what God was doing through her and her husband coming to faith for that short amount of time. That's a milestone of my life that I never will. I saved those letters. Like she's just this core in my memory of milestones, and she didn't even like she wasn't even trying. Like God was just using her as an encouragement of passing by that, it didn't even it didn't even register for her. She's like, "Well, I'm so glad I was an encouragement to you. I didn't know." And I feel like I have so many I can share. So we can cut out anything we need to because I felt like I could just keep going. But another big one that I wanted to share, and Jenna, I don't know if you remember this or not. It was a couple years ago, and we meet at this minister's wife school, and it's a they teach and stuff, and it's not really a place that people usually say like I need to sing a song or anything. And I remember the Lord telling me like, you need to sing the song. And I was like, I really don't want to sing this song right now. And I'm in this room with like all these people that can actually sing really good and can play the piano really good. And it was a lot of pride. I think I learned a lot from this experience more than just encouragement. But anyway, so I went up there, played the song, hit every wrong note, and it was a mess. And I get up from the piano and I'm like trying to, there's this little bathroom that you can go and hide in, and it was like off to the side. And I don't know if Jenna was like bouncing a baby or what she's even doing in there, but it was like, Lord put her right in my path. I mean, it was like I couldn't even get away from her. She may have gotten in front of me. I don't even know. Like she stopped me in my tracks. I don't even remember the words she said, but they were encouragement. And I really have no idea what they said, but it encouraged me. So I went in the bathroom and cried. And then a month later, 2 months later, she sends me a postcard. Jenna does. She sends me a postcard. And it was just encouragement. And that encouragement, like, is still, I have this little, I'm a hoarder of encouragement letters.
I love
And
that.
so I have this whole I have this whole like board at my desk in my office, and it just has all of these encouragement letters, and Jenna's is one of that. And so there's some of my I mean I feel like I have a ton, but like it is just so important to encourage others. And I've just been so blessed in being encouraged at the right time, at the right place by the right person, whether they know they're doing it or not.
Those are two really great examples. We're not cutting any of that. That's all staying. But Jenna, because you are one of those examples, and Tiffany, we've talked about Jenna's postcards on the podcast before. Also, huge fans of Marco Polo. At some point, we're gonna be like sponsors of them or something, I'm sure. But Jenna, because you're here, like, give us some of the back end of that. Do you remember that experience? Like, what were you thinking? What prompted you? Just tell us your side of that story.
To get up in front of a group of pastors' wives, ministers' wives, is intimidating. And the fact that I knew Tiffany and Tiffany's background, when I saw her stand up and say that she needed to sing a song, I knew how big that was because it's hard. It's intimidating. I'm sure it was overwhelming for her. And I knew that she wanted it to be perfect. And the point of it was that it didn't need to be perfect. And it needed to be exactly what it was. It needed to be that her heart was following the Lord and doing something and pleasing Him and worshiping Him. And it didn't have to be every right note. It didn't even have to be every right word. We wouldn't have known the difference, but she did it with such a humble heart. And I immediately knew that it was going to upset her that she didn't do it in the way that she wanted to, but she had. She had done it in the way that the Lord wanted her to and was humble and submitting to his call to just get up in front of a group of ladies that you don't even know them all. It's a room full of ladies from all different states and even different countries. And she did it, and I just remember feeling like I would beat myself up if I had felt like the Lord wanted me to do something and I didn't do it as well as I wanted to. And I just remember thinking she needs encouraged right now. She needs a hug because she did exactly what the Lord wanted her to do. And the words of the song were exactly what needed to be sung at that time. And so I remember going to her. And then I also remember, and I'm big on postcards. They're inexpensive. You can buy a pack of 100 for $6 on Amazon, and the stamps are a little bit cheaper than regular stamps. So I'm a postcard girly. I do that often. But I remember a few months later that same instance crossing my mind and just wanting her to know that her efforts weren't in vain. And I think there's something to that, that if the Lord puts something on your heart or on your mind, even if it's weeks, months, a year later, there's a reason for it. And encouragement doesn't just stop in the moment. It's something that really carries on. It spurs us on to good works and encouraging others. And it reminds us that what we're doing is not it's not in vain. It's for a purpose. And I think it pleases the Lord not only when we encourage others like in the moment, but if we continue to follow up. I think there's something so important about following up. And even though that lady, like going back to your story about the lady not recognizing what she did, I think that we think encouragement is no big deal. I think we think that it's such a small thing. Like her holding your baby, she didn't think anything of that. But how big it actually is, I don't think you can put weight on it. There's no measurement to it. It's just something that the Lord uses to build each other up, build others up, and you don't even know how far that will go. And I think that's the beauty of encouragement. And yes, I remember that instant with Tiffany like it was yesterday because the Lord burdened my heart to get to her as quick as possible.
I'm so glad that we can hear both of your stories, right? And how they tie together. I think it's so cool how the Holy Spirit works in us at different times for different reasons. And Tiffany, I love that one of your examples, the person had no idea, right? They were just like, do it. That woman, she was just doing whatever the Lord wanted her to do. She had no idea what you were going through. She didn't know you. She just was doing her thing and it encouraged you. But then Jenna knows you and she knew what you were going to need in that moment and she could encourage you too. And so I think that should motivate us all, encourage us all to look for those opportunities for other people. Because, like, what seems meaningless to me, like no big deal, like you just said, Jenna, might be a really big deal to someone. It might be on my heart for a reason because they need it in that moment. And so I can't think of two better examples, honestly. Thank you for sharing those, Tiffany. Um, Okay, so I want to change gears a little bit. And you and Tiffany, you and Jenna both, you're pastors' wives. So you are a part of a church, and it's all of our responsibilities. But I am assuming, as someone who's not a pastor's wife, that one of the things that lays heavy on both of you is to encourage the people in your church and look for ways to encourage people in your church. And so, why? Talk to me about that. And why is it important for you to encourage other people?
You want me to go first?
Whoever.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Okay. I think there's so many different what are reasons why it's important at different times in people's spiritual walks. I was really thinking about this because, a lot of times a new convert, someone gets saved and they're so excited and they have all this zeal, but maybe not the wisdom. And that's where we come along and encourage them and disciple them. And we're like, hey, like now you have this in you. Let's dig into the scriptures. Here's how to build your walk with the Lord. And then, for maybe a younger Christian, but also we talked about, the perseverance of others who maybe are, discouraged, but like in Galatians where it says, let's not lose heart in good doing, but in due time we'll reap, we'll sow, and not to grow weary. And so it's like, those younger Christians need it in the church, and the older Christians need it too, because they're tired too. Um, and I think in the church too, it builds such community and unity. And even in Hebrews, where we get the whole forsake not the assembly, it's because we are to encourage one another. And so that you may see as the day is drawing near. And so when we're together as a church, encouraging not just, pastors and pastors' wives encouraging others, but also other members encouraging other members. And then, some people are just don't even feel like they have a purpose. And when you come in behind them and try to tell them, you are created for God's, workmanship, like you have a purpose. And then also, I think this is probably the one we think of the most of people facing trials and tribulations in their life. But sometimes they just need us to just remind them that Jesus has overcame the world and we're here because of God and giving him the glory in your situation. And so I think it's important in so many different, I know those were just a few, but it's important in just so many different aspects of life. I feel like it's such an important topic of a Christian's walk.
Yeah, I agree. There's so many things that I could say, but I'm not. Jenna, I'm gonna like tape my mouth shut and let you talk.
No, I agree with her. I think it's important that just, yes, I'm a pastor's wife, but I'm just a believer. I am just like everybody else that's sitting in those pews. I'm a sinner saved by grace, and this walk isn't always easy. And I think there's something special about putting yourself in someone else's position and realizing what they're going through. Like we've said before, you can't pray for somebody unless you really know the need. Same way with encouragement. If you don't see the need, if you're not willing to look beyond your pew, then you're going to miss out on encouraging others and in return being blessed for doing so. And I think we forget as believers how much we need each other. Like the Lord put the church together for a reason, and I think we don't take full advantage of that. And encouragement is just a small part of the body and of the church. And Tiffany stated it so well. Like we stir up good works in each other when when we just put a voice on, I see you. You're not alone. There's such power in that. And so I think it takes stop looking at yourself and start looking at others, because they're probably feeling or experiencing things that are similar to you or completely different. But put yourself in the place of your fellow believers and unbelievers and find a way to encourage them in the faith.
I was gonna say the same thing, Jenna, about like last week or the week before. I don't know when it was. It all runs together. We were talking about you can't really pray for someone unless you know them and know their needs. And like, I mean, you can pray for them, but you can't pray specifically for them if you don't have a relationship with them and don't know what they're going through. And the same is true about encouragement. So I love that you pointed that out. Hebrews 10:23 through 25 has kind of become like the verse of the podcast because it just ties to all these things. And we've said it over and over, stir one another up to good deeds. That's what I say to my kids. Like, are you encouraging her? Are you spurring her on to good deeds, or are you making her mad? Or are you making her angry? But then I need that too. I need to constantly remember that it's not just my job to take care of Catherine, but like we are all knit together as the church, and we need each other, and we all have very important roles. We've talked about that recently too. Like I have gifts, and you have gifts, and you have like they're all different, but they all work together so well to build up the body, the church that Jesus has put together, and I love that. I had a friend a couple days ago. I was venting on Marco Polo about a work situation. I don't know how long it was. I just went on and on and on, just like blowing off steam. And she came back at me, or responded back and said, that's a hard situation that you're in. I'm so sorry. But maybe if you think about how the Lord wants to grow you in this situation, it might make it easier. And like that wasn't her saying, "Go, Catherine, keep going, do good." That was her like kind of turning my focus to something else. But it was so encouraging to me to have somebody look at my situation and then point back to Jesus, and how I could see um, him in that moment. And so I think encouragement looks a lot of different ways. And y'all have talked about big things and small things. What, this is a free for all. What would you say? Like, let's say there's a woman listening who wants to encourage someone else. What should she do? Like, what's the first thing she should do? How should she start? What do you think?
I think the first way to start is just to do it. I think so many times we think we have to have it the right time, the right place, the right thing to say. I myself at times have said, well, I'm not good with words, so I'm not a good encourager. I'm not good with words. But it doesn't matter if you're good with words or not, because you have Jesus's words. And if you have his words, you're the best encourager ever. Because if you just want to take some scriptures and encourage someone, sending someone a verse, just the other day I got a text and it was a prayer request. It was an answered prayer. And the text started with praise the Lord, such and such, such and such. And I was like, how can you not get encouraged when you're just sharing, hey, look what the Lord's done for my life? And so I think, like, if I would say that person, just start and you just be, you don't have postcards, that's okay. Like, you have a text, you can text someone, you can call someone, you can encourage people you just see out in public. But I think the first thing is just to start and not let yourself hold yourself back from being an encourager for the Lord.
Yeah, I love that. Don't wait. It doesn't have to be this elaborate plan. Like, just start. Just say something. I
Hmm.
love that. Jenna, what do you think?
I think it's always good to ask the Lord. If you really want to encourage someone, there's always going to be somebody who needs to be encouraged.
Yes.
No doubt. Maybe it's in your home that someone needs to be encouraged. Maybe it's a neighbor. Maybe it's in your church. Maybe it's in your workplace. I don't know where it is, but there's somebody who needs to be encouraged. And if you're not sure who they are, if you're not able to see it through God's perspective, ask God for the perspective of who do I need to be looking at to encourage, if that's something that's on your heart. Another thing that I thought about is how, as humans, we are so quick to judge or point out the negatives of things and of people. It happens in churches often, which gives us a bad name. but we are quick to point out the negative. What if we flip the script on that? And as humans, we're starting to become quick to encourage and stir up good works and love, like the Bible tells us to do. What if we did that? What if it was completely different and we stopped judging and stopped seeing the negative and started encouraging? I think there's lack of that going around. And I need to be that person that instead of looking at the negative or how you did this wrong, even in my own home with my kids, how much more could I encourage them and show them the Lord? If instead of saying, well, you did that incorrectly, let me show you how to do it right. What if I could just say, thank you for helping me with this? And that be enough? And the next time I see them doing it in a way that I don't prefer, I'll be their example instead. Let me just step in and show them how to do it quickly, but always be the encourager. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for helping me with this. Or you're doing such a good job helping out mom. I, I really am seeing just through Paul and Colossians and through the word how often I want to judge instead of being an encourager. And I think that I need to be reminded of that. Instead of pointing out the negative, find a way to encourage.
We can all use that reminder. Or I'll speak for myself. I could definitely use that reminder. Um, okay, this has been so encouraging to me already. I'm sure it's going to encourage other people. We all have notes, separate notes. Anything that you guys wanted to say about encouragement that we haven't had a chance to say yet?
I will.
Go, Jenna.
I even printed out some screenshots
Because you're
from
on
my
your phone.
phone because I'm on my phone. So I printed out the screenshots of the things
Yes.
of the reason why Tiffany's here today. We said we're going through Colossians and Paul is encouraging the church. I want to take this opportunity to say that Tiffany was or has been a huge encouragement to this podcast, to both Catherine and me. And I don't even know if she knows it, but just her simple text, I have screenshots to show where she encouraged, and she probably doesn't realize that these were so encouraging to us at a time when we only had maybe 5 people listening, and she spurred that on in us. She just totally encouraged us. She said, I started listening to your podcast. One of the girls from our church texted me the link and said, Brother Johnson's wife has a podcast. And I was like, what? You should share it on Facebook so you can get some likes and shares and all that stuff. We need to get the word out there. We're traveling this week, but when I get home, I will start pushing it across the board. So proud to have you doing the podcast. And I told her in that point that I've never even listened to a podcast. I don't even know anything about a podcast. And I said that it feels strange promoting yourself. And she said, I am a podcast person. I love them. It's a media that we need to get into with the truth. And then she keeps encouraging me. I have text after text after text. Latest podcast, so good. And then when we were low in number, Tiffany was the one who sent us out and shared us like crazy. And I think she almost doubled our listenership in like 24 hours or follower. I don't even know. It's not about followers or numbers to me, but it was just about the fact that someone cared enough. She's not kind of like Paul. That's not his church. And yet he poured into them and encouraged them. And that's what Tiffany has done for me and for Catherine, I think, in this small little section on social media or whatever we are. Tiffany was the one who really did that for us. This isn't her podcast, but she took such a huge step in promoting, quote unquote, promoting us, but also being the texter of encouragement for me to keep doing what we're doing and following the Lord in doing so. And I don't want to let this podcast go without telling her how much we appreciate her for doing that.
Well, you guys have been an encouragement to me because, I love how encouragement goes both ways, whether we see it or not. Because when I first realized you guys had done this, it was like, we did it. I didn't do anything, but it was like, we did it. We have one out there. And coming from someone who listens and you want to share podcasts that you listen to, but like, you don't know those people and you don't know exactly what they believe, but like knowing like, oh, and I know Catherine, we don't know each other, but like I feel like I know your church, like I know where you go to church and how you believe. And like it was so encouraging to me because I'd heard people talk of like, oh, we should do a podcast, we should do a podcast. And it's like, but the fact of someone actually doing it is just so encouraging because I know it's not easy. All the stuff you go through with the editing and the planning and all that, like it's not just, oh, we're just gonna throw a podcast together. Like this is work. And I truly see it as a missionary, like a mission field, because it is. There's thousands of people out there that you can be reached. And that encouraged me that we're taking the truth and getting it in different medias, in different worlds, in different places, in all these new ways that God's given us as people. Like we're not putting it in a box. And that was encouragement to me. So you guys have really been an encouragement to me too.
I
Thank
can't,
you.
yeah, because Jenna said something, I get to say something too. Tiffany, I was sitting on my couch on a Wednesday and I said to my husband Justin, I was like, you will not believe it. We have 100 new followers in the last 12 hours. What is happening? And then Jenna texted me and she was like, Tiffany shared the podcast with like her friends and stuff. And like I cannot tell you. I would love to say that I don't care about the numbers. I very much care about the numbers because I'm like Jenna, like I don't want to promote it myself. It feels weird. But at the same time, like we both feel like this is what the Lord has called us to do. He's like put these things on our hearts to share. And if we can't share it, then it's like just sitting there. And that makes me kind of squirmy. And so I can't tell you how much it blessed me and encouraged me that you did that. And we're not like praising Tiffany. I know you would, that's not what
No.
she wants. Like, we
No.
don't want to make you feel uncomfortable. I just am so thankful that the Lord has given you to us. And like, this is your podcast now too. You're here. You've been here. So you could say um,
Number one fan.
well, we just appreciate it. And honestly, we are about to cross a really big milestone. I think the week that we're recording this, we're gonna hit 1,000 streams of our podcast,
Yes, that's
which is
awesome.
such like I know that's not a very big number compared to other
No, it's
people, but
amazing.
it's such a big deal to me because I hope that we have done exactly what this conversation is. I hope that we've encouraged people in their walk with Jesus. And I just want to say thank you, Tiffany, for listening to the Lord and for loving on us the way that you have and for supporting this work because you've picked me up on some really, really bad days for sure. So thanks for joining us and for being here with us today and sharing a little bit about your story and encouraging those listening.
Thanks for coming to the table. We hope today's conversation encouraged you as you seek Jesus in the big moments and the little ones. You'll find all the resources we mentioned today in the show notes. Feel free to share this episode, leave a comment, ask a question, or share your thoughts with us. Next week, on To the Table, we're looking at Colossians chapter 2. Paul shares the importance of being rooted in Jesus and established in faith. Over the next week, keep your eyes and heart open for those around you who may need some encouragement. You never know the impact of a tiny gesture. If you aren't already, go and follow us on Facebook or Instagram, whichever you prefer. See you next week.